You have to take a risk in life. However risky you feel that is, just go for it. You have to be completely selfish as an individual if you want to give to people. I've given over £1 million of my own wealth away. Wisdom is the currency of success. I live by that mantra. The greatest gift that any person in the world can give to anybody else is what we're doing now, is time.
Can you submerge yourself in a cold plunge?
Never done that. Done it in the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic, but never done it in an ice bath or anything of that nature.
Oh, so you just did the hardest one first?
Yeah, just fell through the ice on one occasion up there, yeah.
Now, we would go into the docks in the winter. Funny enough, we should really start, but when it gets really cold, we get into next to the yacht club. We walk down.
Yeah, by the marina.
We don't really do it because of health benefits. We do it probably because of the challenge of the colder it is.
Yeah, the better.
But I find if you get a cold shower, it hits one bit, then it hits the other, then it hits the other. Yeah, so you move it. Yeah, you're moving around, trying to nearly dodge it.
Yeah.
But did you actually get in? I had one other friend. They walked the Arctic Circle, and you actually get in.
Yeah, sometimes you have to swim over.
You cut a hole.
No, what happens is it's more Arctic Circle than Antarctic, because in the Antarctic it's like you're on land. So effectively you'll come to a crevasse and you have to walk across it. In the Arctic, basically because it's a floating ice cap, what happens is that effectively you'll come to the end of the ice and then all of a sudden there'll be what they call a lead, which is an open space of water. And the only way to get across it is to swim it. So you put an immersive suit on, you don't get in there, so you get out your kit, put the immersive suit on, and then effectively put a tag on your back, your rope on your back, you leave your sled on the other side of the ice, you swim across, you get out, you pull your sled over, because your sled can actually float, so it's got a flotation system in it. You pull it across to the other side of the ice where you're going to carry on your trek, and that's what you have to do. Because of global warming, there's more leads now than ever before to get to the geographic North Pole, because effectively the ice cap's moving all the time. So you're basically on a treadmill of ice, and you basically get your GPS out, and you'll find that you may have trekked, let's say, 20 miles in that particular day, but you've actually gone backwards because the ice cap's flown backwards. So you've got 20 miles further away from the North Pole that you have to catch up. And then on other days, the ice flow pushes you towards the pole, and then you're only at the North Pole for literally a matter of episeconds, because as soon as you've basically got to the North Pole, the ice starts to flow and you basically move off it again. So you can never ever actually put a post down to say this is the geographic North Pole, because it only stays there for seconds. Yeah.
So if you time it right, in theory you can get 20 miles away and still hit the pole.
You
can
if you flow towards it. And then on some days we'd trek for 20 miles and then we found out we'd actually gone 20 miles back. So you can never say that you're going to do it in a certain number of days, because it just never works that way.
And how many days did it take you?
6 weeks it took us on the ice. Yeah, from start to finish. So we flew into a Russian spy base from Svalbard in Norway. And you land at this ice base in the middle of nowhere on the Arctic Circle, run by Russians. You're flown in by Russians. And you
sounds even more scary when you say Russians, doesn't it?
It does actually. Well, they couldn't speak a word of English and you have to pay them in vodka. So we actually paid them in 2 crates of vodka to get us flown in. It's true. And we got there, couldn't speak a word of English, but we got on with them like a house on fire. They fed us, they looked after us, they knew what we were going to do. They had a rescue helicopter, a Sikorsky, on standby if you needed to come in and pull us out. It's just amazing people.
Did they make you drink the vodka?
Yeah, they did, yeah. Oh God, yeah, you had to do that. It was standard. And I don't drink an awful lot. You had the odd pint of Guinness. But when we were out there, it was just vodka with everything. And they gave us a few bottles to take along the way as well, because it doesn't freeze.
How many of you did the trip?
6 of us. Yeah, led by a woman. Amazing.
How many? But when you go on these adventures, is there like a catalyst of the same people that plan them all, or have you
not really.
Sought out different groups?
They reached you. They reach out to you.
They reached you.
Yeah, so it's like an Explorer Club network, whereby you have a CV of what you've done, and then people will basically just dip into that network to say, I'm thinking about doing this particular trip. Do you fancy it? This is how much it costs. should we meet and have a coffee to see if you want to be a part of the team? That's how it operates.
And whenever you started out on your interest on adventure, which was the first challenge that you thought, I'd really like to try that?
God, yeah. Well, the first one I thought of was the geographic North Pole. I thought I'd really, as a child, you know, you dream of Father Christmas and the elves, and you know, it's crazy, isn't it? But you dream of actually sort of, oh, he's up at the North Pole getting ready for Christmas in your head. I always remember having that sort of conversation with my mum, thinking he's coming an awful long way, isn't he? And she said, yes, love, he is. But I said, one day I'm going to get there and say hi to him. So I just had this childhood sort of dream of getting to the North Pole and sticking a pole in it and saying, I'm at the top of the world. And you go through 17 time systems when you get there as well. It's incredible.
But did you imagine it was going to be more glamorous as a child? Did you realise it would be so extreme?
I did. Oh my, yeah. When I was a child, you just have these amazing, there's going to be Santa's workshop and they're all going to be working away, and like this, the movies portray it. But yeah, I mean, when I got to the age when I knew what I was going to do and I researched it, one of the most, you know, harshest environments you can ever actually do anything in. Average temperature is about -40, sometimes -50 on a day. You know, severe frostbite was a regular thing. I basically sort of got frost nip on my nose and my fingers on a regular basis. One of the team, Peter, he fell through the ice when he was going across a lead of ice, and he just basically disappeared. And he ended up having amputations on his toes and his hands when he got home.
So the suits you're wearing, they're not fully waterproof?
No, well,
they have to allow you to sweat, do they?
They do, but when we were just walking over this lead of ice that just frozen over. So we camped that night, and we got up the following morning, and the actual water expanse had frozen over. And we thought, we'll risk it. So they said, right, who's going first? And I said, well, I'll have a go, because I was the latest at the time. And I said, I'll go first.
I'm the bravest.
And I'm most foolhardy, so, Bernie's doing it. So they roped me up, and I could hear the ice, you know, it was bouncing, but I could hear it cracking and creaking. And you can see the water underneath as you're going over. So I successfully got across, got my sled over, basically put my ropes in, tied all my ropes up, got it all leashed up. And then Peter was the next one across. So I had him on a rope secured on my side, and then Jack had it on this side. So he was coming along, and all of a sudden it was like when you see it at the movies, you see the ice crack, and it comes towards him. And I said, run now. And he's just about to start to run, and he just disappeared underneath the ice. So we had an emergency drill to recover him. And the first thing that you recover is not the individual, is the kit. Because without the kit, you can't survive. And when Peter went under, and this is one of the mistakes that we made, we actually put all the different types of supplies in the different sleds. So I had all the fuel for the burners, and Peter had all the food, which is really a cardinal sin. Because if you lose somebody and you lose the food and you can't get rescued, you'll basically die of starvation. But we didn't know that at the time. So we had to get the food back and leave Peter in the water. So Jack stripped off, dived in to get the sled back, which was starting to sink. We pulled the sled out. We had to leave Peter in the ice for about 5 minutes in the water. And then when we pulled him out, he became like an ice popsicle. So the water is obviously a few degrees above freezing. When you pulled him out, he literally froze to death. So we had to strip off his clothes as soon as we can. I had to get a tent up, get a burner going. We actually rolled him into the tent to warm him up again. By that time, he'd virtually frozen solid. And then we had to defrost him really, really quickly in the tent and get him back to normal room temperature. By then, his hands were frostbitten and his feet were frostbitten. And we stayed in that tent for about 2 days and 2 nights before he decided he wanted to go on.
So, you know, in preparation, 6 of you has decided to go to the North Pole.
Yeah.
Had anyone ever been there before?
One of them had.
Okay.
He was one of the leads.
So we had some idea of what could happen.
He knew exactly where the train was. We had radio communication with base. They tracked us as we were going along. We did survival training in Iceland. We went over to Iceland and did a couple of weeks on a glacier. to like give us a sort of a representation of what it'd be like to sort of camp on ice and so on and so forth. So our preparation was meticulous, and the 6 folks within the team were literally handpicked because they were fit and sharp, they'd gone on the training, they'd gone through it, etc., etc., etc. So 6 amazing people. I'm not including myself in that, but the 5 people that I would were just incredible people. Yeah.
And that was your first major
That was my
challenge.
first real major challenge that I did, yeah.
So were you in between that thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? When I get
every
back home, I'm never doing this again.
Every single day, Sean. I've never felt as cold as I could never get warm with all my kit on. And I was in the tent one night with Jack, one of my mates who was with me, and I was just quivering, shaking. I couldn't stop shaking. And I said, Jack, I can't get warm. And he was getting quite concerned about me because I looked sort of fashioned. And he said, right, he said, listen, this is not going on the record. He said, but you have to get in my sleeping bag naked and you'll have to spoon me because it's the only way you're going to get warm, mate. And I stripped off, like, yeah, where are you going? And I'm in. And I spooned him and he like brought me back to life with his body heat. And every night towards...
So it's not on the record?
No, not on the record, no, honestly, but I love him dearly, but not from a physical point of view, but he saved my life on the ice, and also from a psychological point of view as well. Jack Russell is his name, and name that you'll never forget. And Jack is an incredible explorer, an amazing adventurer, and when I was on the ice, he was asking me, what was my motivation for doing this, blah, 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 blah. And he was actually taping a radio show for why people were motivated to do things like this. And he just kept me going. I just thought, lost the plot, want to go home. Where's my mum?
So you've always kept fit and running was your first passion, is that right?
Yeah, my running was my first passion, first and foremost.
And when you were doing your running,
yeah,
did you think that you wanted to be an adventurer or you wanted to be a good runner, or did it blend into someday thinking I'll just give it a go?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because it's completely, walking to the North Pole is not running.
No, it's not, to be fair, but it's funny, isn't it? It all harks back to your childhood, doesn't it? So, my dad was an amazing walker. I mean, came from Northern Ireland, from part of the world that you know very, very well, Sean. And he walked everywhere. He walked to Mass, he walked back to Mass, he walked all around Liverpool. He never got on a bus, but he could walk. And he used to drag us out to do walking on a Sunday afternoon after Mass. And the actual incentive was to have a bottle of Coca-Cola. Because then Coca-Cola was like, wow, what is this magical drink that you can have? It tastes so sweet and it looks brilliant. And he always used to say, come and have a mineral. Halfway around the walk, we'll have a mineral, a Hale Barn. And I said, yeah, fine. And
you earned it.
I earned it, yeah. Yeah, I just walked for miles and miles and miles with him. And he told me all these lovely tales about Ireland and his home and the farm and my nan. And it was just a magical time, just talking to him and just hearing all about his life. And he went to sea, and I got the bug about going to sea because my dad basically sailed from Liverpool to Dublin and Belfast and around the coast with an amazing company. And he used to take me on the boat during school time to show me the ship, which was just magical to me at that age. And he used to take me down at the engine room, and that's when my passion for engineering came. And then, of course, my passion for travel came when I went on the bridge and actually sailed with him. And it was just a magical time, yeah.
One of the questions a friend of mine actually has is that when I started talking about you, I can quite easily dilute climbing Everest with rowing the channel, with breaking world records.
Right.
To the point is that each of them are so amazing in their own right that it's nearly hard to focus on one thing when I start talking about you. So were all of these achievements that you've done over the years, were they all a stepping stone from saying, right, I've done that, I'll try something new? Was it something that you never even thought about each decade, or were they all on your list?
I never had a shopping list to do all the things I've done. It just naturally happened. And I got into challenges purely with my charity work, really, because if you go back 30 years, running 40 years, running a marathon 40 years ago was quite something special. There's not many people that actually ran a marathon then. The London Marathon was in its infancy. I think it was about first year or second year of the London Marathon. And sadly, it coincided with my mum and dad passing within 6 months of one another. They passed really early with smoking-related diseases, and the four lads, my three brothers and myself, really just wanted to do something to celebrate my mum's death and to thank the people that looked after her. So we decided to run the Bolton Marathon. Quite unusual. I don't know why we decided, but we thought we'd do something in celebration, we'd do it together.
Logistics.
Yeah.
You could get there quicker.
Yeah, it's just around the corner. And we just didn't know what we'd like, so we never prepared for it. We thought we did a few training runs down to the pier head, back to Speak, where mum and dad and we all lived at the time. And because that was a marathon from Speak to the pier head and back. And we used to do that, and we walked most of it. But we were really passionate about giving something back from mum and the people that cared for her when she passed. And when we did it, and we walked half of it, when I crossed the finish line, I had a beautiful sensation of this was so worthwhile, and had an amazing experience with my brothers, that wanted to do this for mum. And we walked it, and loads of people were cheering even at that stage. And when I passed, I think, well, I didn't really do it properly. I didn't really prepare for this. And we raised 200 quid, which was an awful lot of money 40 plus years ago. And the charity that got it was so grateful. And we're thinking, okay, this might be a way in which we can actually help charities raise some money going forward. And that's really sort of where that was lighting the blue touch paper for the adventures of the lifetime that came after that, really. And I got involved in my first charity shortly after that, which was running related. And I've never looked back since.
Yes, you've blended extreme adventure with an incredible charitable side. I want to get on to the charitable bit soon, but we've talked about the North Pole, and one of the most beautiful stories, I remember when you crossed the Atlantic.
Yes.
You had 109 days.
In 109 days at sea, yeah.
Can you, apart from giving us some idea what it's like to be out to sea, there's one beautiful moment where you were telling me that the whales had followed you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, tell us about the journey, and maybe build that story in, because I've told so many people that story about how in the moment of so much difficulty, you can find moments that you'll remember. I feel like I've lived it through you telling me. But what was it like being at sea for 109 days?
It was.
Or where did you start and where did you finish?
Okay, yeah. Well, when you row solo across the Atlantic, you usually start from the Canary Islands, little island called La Gomera. Beautiful place to explore, by the way. If nobody's ever been there, go and have a look at it. It's one of the most remote of the islands that you go to it, but you can get to it from Tenerife with a short journey across. Beautiful culture, amazing landscape. It's got an amazing national park in it as well. So you start from La Gomera, and then you come out the harbour, and then you basically turn the boat west, and then you row for 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean. You end up in the Caribbean Sea, and you end up in Antigua. That's the plan. So that sort of journey usually takes between about 40 to 50 days. If you get good seas, you're relatively fit, you've got a good boat, and everything's going well for you. Unfortunately for me, in that year, it was the worst weather conditions ever in the Atlantic Ocean. And there was El Nino, and the currents were coming in the opposite direction, and there were storm systems ablaze. But we knew that going out into it. So we knew we've got a forewarning from the team to say that the solo rowers are going to really struggle across this year. You may not make it, but we're just forewarning you that you may have to put the SOS out, because effectively you're not going to be strong enough to get through the currents pushing you backwards. And so it was to be. The first day that we went out, I went backwards. I remember seeing Mount Teddy, and I'm thinking, Mount Teddy's not moving. And I hit a storm the first night, which blew me off course, back towards Tenerife and past Tenerife. I saw a cruise ship go past me that was actually rocking and rolling like I'd never seen before. And I was thinking, if that's struggling, you know, it looks like I'll be back in port in a few days' time, because I'm going backwards. And then the fleet was actually going forward slowly. So the people that had 2, 3, 4, 5 rowers on board, and they were going forward. So spoke to base. They said, yeah, it's going to be pretty rough for the next few days. You will go backwards. Get your anchor out. So when you're deep in the ocean, you can't put a conventional anchor down. You've got to put a massive parachute out.
Like umbrella, yeah.
Yeah. You throw it in, fills full of water, and it stops you from drifting backwards. So it did that. So I was on para anchor for about a couple of days.
You just sit there?
You just sit there. You get hit by waves. The waves, you go in the right direction of the wave system. So you go into the front cabin, lock it down, seal it, and literally you're in a cocoon for 2 days while the weather just hits you. And you hope and pray that you're not going to capsize. And that's what I did for the first 2 nights of the trip. I just sat tight and hoped and prayed I wasn't going to capsize and sink. Then the weather subsided.
What a start.
Pardon me?
What a start.
It was, yeah, I thought, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. I'm 2 days backwards before I've actually even got anywhere. And the weather systems weren't looking very good at that time. But the weather calmed and enabled me to get back out on the oars and then start my row. So I had to row for 2 days before I actually got past where I started, and then headed towards the Atlantic, which was quite demoralising when I knew my partner and all my friends and supports. I could literally see the lights of La Gomera for 2 days. The actual port I came out was San Sebastian. I literally was just out in the ocean, and they knew I was not going anywhere because they could track me. And they were getting quite concerned.
Could you not have could you not have just said, I'll just get in and I'll stay in a hotel for a few days and I'll start next week?
We did suggest that, but because it's an organised race, they've only got a certain amount of time to get all the rowers out there and then get over to Antigua to see everybody in. So I guess it's a business type of operation whereby they have to take that chance. And to be fair to them, all of the dual boats, the triples and the quads and the quintets, they actually ploughed through it. Yeah. Very slowly, but they ploughed through it. It was only the back of the fleet with the solo rowers that really struggled.
Yeah, but imagine they can get a rest. There's still 1 or 2 rowing where they can get a sleep.
That's absolutely right, Sean. That's exactly what happens. But we knew that going into it, really. And it's part of the adventure, and it's a baptism of fire. So what I was thinking when I was actually in there for 2 days is that, well, if this is as rough as it's going to get, I know what's coming, because they said there's Atlantic storm systems coming in all the way across the Atlantic. So expect this. But you'll get some great days where the conditions will push you in the right direction.
Just like the North Pole.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
You're swaying in and out.
Yeah, you've got no control of Mother Nature, which is really quite cool from that point of view.
Sounds cool.
When she really wants to bite you in the ass, you know, you get bitten, big style. But you learn so much from that. So yeah, a pretty horrible start, to be fair, which continued really for the first 2 weeks. So by the second week, we hit the worst storm ever. And it hit at night. It was going to be a 2-day storm, 2-night storm, 50-foot waves, huge thunder and lightning storms that you'd never experienced lightning so bright, basically flashing across the ocean. Thunder that would actually crack your eardrums. It's that loud. Rain coming in sort of horizontally. The boat getting bombarded left, right, and centre. You have to get on power anchor. So in the second week, when the biggest storm hit, the boat capsized twice, did a 360, and I lost all of my power. Boat got completely saturated. Boat went over on the second occasion, went over for about 5 to 7 minutes, which seemed like hours at the time.
Is the boat designed to flip back? Yeah,
it's like built like a lifeboat with two cells on the front and the rear.
So where are you when it goes over?
I'm in the front of the boat, which is the bow, which is like an air pocket, which is your cabin.
So you're on the ceiling?
Well, when she went over, yeah, it's like you're like in a tumble dryer. So I got just pummeled everywhere. The life raft that was underneath my feet broke open because of the force of the waves. And the life raft weighs a considerable amount of weight, and it basically fell on my legs in the dark. and damaged my legs at that stage. It was an incredible amount of pain with complete darkness because the batteries and the lights went. And the water started to ingress into the cabin because you have to have a vent in the cabin for ventilation and oxygen. And the water started to ingress into the cabin at that stage. And it was a complete and utter shit show, to be fair. And I thought, this is it. Because the boat did try to rewrite, but every time it tried to rewrite, a wave would come and hit the boat and knock it back over again. So every time she started to try and come up, a massive wave.
Also, it doesn't flip back.
No, she comes back slowly depending on the conditions outside. So I was in huge pain. I couldn't move my legs. There was complete darkness in the cabin. I searched around for my satellite phone to basically try and put an SOS call out to come out and get me. I grabbed hold of the actual satellite phone and got a signal from inside the boat because I could actually get it from the hull. I got a signal and I dialed home. So I thought, well, I'm going to dial home, and first of all, just to tell them I may not be coming back. So I dialed home. It was 3 o'clock in the morning in the UK, and Sharon, my partner, never answered it. She was asleep. She didn't hear the phone. Gosh, I had it on the silent. So I left a message to say, I've had an amazing life. I love you dearly. Say goodbye to the boys for me. Say goodbye to Murphy, my dog. You know, it's been lovely knowing you, darling. Love you heaps. But this might be the last message you get from me, and put the phone down. Then I rang the person that was actually looking after me and routing me. And I rang him and said exactly the same thing. And he said, just hang on in there. He said, you know, it will come back up. I said, no, it's about 5-7 minutes now and the water's starting to come in. He said, right, okay, you need to abandon ship. You need to get out and get the raft up. I said, I can't get the raft up because the raft actually is it's trapped underneath my legs. I can't get out. So he said, right, okay. He said, look, listen, just do your best to see if you can actually get yourself out and get out into the water and get the life raft open as quickly as you possibly can. And I said, okay, thanks a lot. Put the phone down. And I thought, there's no way I can do it. I can't move. I was in so much pain and agony. And a couple of weeks before I went out to the start line with my boat, a couple of my neighbours knocked on the door and knew what I was doing. Amazing Christians. And said, oh, all the best, we brought you a little present, a wee present for you to take on your trip. He said, now we know you don't believe in God, but we're Christians, we love the Lord. And he said, and you're going to need the 3rd emergency service with you when you go across the Atlantic. So we brought you a little wee cross, little wooden cross that we saw it and we thought of you, because when we look at it, it's actually got the actual ocean in the actual knots of the actual the wood itself. Take it with you, and when you need to call JC, grab hold of it and ask him for help, and a miracle will happen. That's what they truly said to me. I said, yeah, okay, fine, no problem. I'll take it with me. So sure enough, it was next to the radio in the darkness. I heard it on the floor where I was, and I felt it. I felt the cross next to me, and I thought, well, I've got no other option. I'm going to have to give him a call. So I called JC and I said, right, you, right, now's your chance. Now's your chance to help me, you bugger. Come on, where are you when I need you? So without word of a lie, literally a minute after, I usually carry the cross wherever I go, actually. It's in my bag, I think. And without word of a lie, a minute later, the boat started to rewrite and it came up. And I thought, for goodness sake, you know, thank you. So
where's that cross?
Yeah,
where's your bag?
I think I've got it in here, actually.
Is it there, yeah?
Yeah, I usually carry it with me, Sean. Let's see if I've got it in here.
You know, if my mum's listening to this now,
oh, tell Rosemary.
Mum will always say,
yeah,
you don't believe in religion until the day that you need it.
She said.
And did she say it to you?
Yeah. No, well, I'm sure when I see Rosemary, she'll tell me that. It's in here somewhere. Let's see if I... What's that, Soph?
Do you believe in religion now?
No, I don't know. No, I don't. I've got loads of people that obviously are. I come from a kind of Irish Catholic background, and all of my Irish Catholic friends are obviously still Catholics, and I really are I'm very supportive of how they think and how they feel, and the religion works for them, which is wonderful, but it doesn't work for me. But I love Christians, I love Christianity and what it stands for. So I feel with who I am a Christian, to be fair, but I just don't believe in that sort of, that faith, to be fair. For a number of reasons.
But most of us have faith in our own belief of what it is.
There you go.
Oh, look at that.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
Isn't that lovely?
So do you take this everywhere with you?
I do, yeah. I keep it in my bag. Yeah. You just never know when I'm going to need to call him again.
You might have read in my book that my nan used to sew miraculous medals in my clothes and put them. And
I did.
And after my mum does the same thing. She'd go and she'd
get the St. Christopher medal. Or,
there's all types of. I've got medals everywhere. If I went through a metal detector, I probably wouldn't get. I'd have to take everything off.
Yeah.
But so I guess. One of the questions I had for you was, is there a moment on your adventures, i.e. this adventure, that just completely flips what you're thinking on your head?
Yeah.
And is that one of the moments?
That is one of the many moments. Honestly, Sean, because I was out there for so long, 3.5 months alone at sea with yourself, there's a lot of thinking time, a lot of reflection time about my life as a person, and many of the mistakes that I've made in my life, which I've made many hundreds of mistakes in my life, but also to reflect upon many of the great things that have happened in my life with people and the joyous moments, and also to be one with nature again. I was very fortunate when I did my North Pole expedition that I really understood what it was like to be one with nature, and to understand the power of nature. And when I did my Atlantic crossing, that all came back to me in spade loads. I just thought, wow, this is just incredible. This amazing world that we live on. I'm on this massive expansion of water with all of this marine life that basically came to join the party, which was really, I really had joyous moments going across. And I brought a little teddy bear with me as well. And he became my Wilson, my little sort of volleyball. Well, I had a little teddy bear called Wing Commander OBE Bear, Andrew Bland. There's a sort of lovely story behind this. And an amazing guy called Richard Bland lost his son, sadly, to suicide. And Richard really wanted to do something to raise awareness about talking about how you feel inside your heads and hearts, and he wanted to do something in his son's memory to actually raise awareness of this, to get people to start talking about destigmatizing mental health as a whole. And he came up with this great idea about writing a story about a teddy bear that does all of these amazing things around the world. And Richard saw me on socials and reached out to me and said, Bernie, would you bring Wing Commander OBE Bear across the Atlantic with you? He's been around the world because he's like the RAF mascot. He's been on every aircraft you can think of. He's flown with the Red Arrows. He's been everywhere you can think of. But he's never been across the water. Would you take him? And I said, yeah, of course I will, for Andrew, definitely. So I said, listen, I'm going to be pulling my ocean-going boat, which weighs about 3/4 of a ton. Part of the campaign that I did with the Boat of Hope was to raise awareness of the 300 young people in the United Kingdom aged 11 to 18 that lose their life through suicide every year. And I wanted to raise awareness that was the significant number of young people that lose their lives. So I decided to tow my boat, weighing 3/4 of a ton, up and down a runway with the MOD in Lynham in Wiltshire for 30 days. So I was going to pull it 10 miles every day to represent the 300 young people that lost their lives. And I invited the parents of those young people to come and actually tow the boat with me for a mile to celebrate the life of their child. And Richard was one of those. And he came with me and he spent a day with me coming and pulling the boat. And we talked about Richard and we talked about Andrew and what his bear meant to him. And he left a wife and 2 children behind, which was so sad. But his legacy now lives on with regards to what Richard is doing. And there's a beautiful little book that he wrote about Wing Commander OBE Bear, which is now an amazing selling book, which is basically touching hearts and lives around the United Kingdom. And Richard said, right, okay, you've got to take him across the Atlantic with you. He will keep you sane. So between my little cross and my little teddy bear that spoke to me all the way across, it really just gave me a focus. I was chatting to AB all the way across. He was chatting back to me, because you start basically to get very delusional, and you start. He spoke to me. His mouth was talking to me, and I was treating him as a person towards the end. And he kept me sane, to be fair, all the way across. So he was my Wilson, and when he came on deck, he was tethered, because I didn't want him to float off in the storms and whatever. And he came on deck when weather was good, and yeah, we had great chats together about how I felt, and I was asking him how he felt. Crazy, isn't it? He speaks to a teddy bear. But he's now going across the Atlantic with my 3 young people who are actually looking to break the world record in December. They're going across. They're going to be the youngest people ever to row the Atlantic, and AB is going across with them as well. So maybe he'll get across a lot quicker this time with the 3 young people that I'm looking after this year. Let's fingers crossed.
I think we could break the world record of having the longest podcast, because if I was to remember every time that I speak to you, one incredible story doesn't get finished because the next incredible story jumps in.
We morph into another one. Yeah.
and that's the difficult thing of how do I pin you down to finish one of your incredible stories without telling me that there's another record. But please tell us.
Yeah.
We won't spend all the time talking about the Atlantic.
Yeah.
But I'd just like you to tell us again about that moment where, so in the middle of all of these extreme challenges, most people that have achieved something great always remembers how difficult it was. Yeah. But there's a moment where it's so joyful, and some of the most memorable experiences and the most beautiful experiences happen. Yeah. And you had one of those experiences when you had some company.
Yeah, I did. It was shortly after one of the storms, actually. I basically just spent about really 24 hours clearing the deck. The decks were flooded. I'd lost some of my equipment. My steering had gone, and I was busy basically getting the boat seaworthy again to try and start move forward in the right direction. And it's funny, actually. I was deep in the bowels of the boat trying to get the steering sorted, which had been smashed to smithereens by this storm. And it was a beautiful day. The day just cleared wonderfully. The sun was up. It was beautiful blue skies. The wind was blowing in the right direction. And it was just a great day to be alive. I'm thinking, wow, I've survived. It's just got to get my steering sorted now. And then I can get back on the oars and can start heading towards where I'm going to go. And I just remember beautiful, calm waters. And then all of a sudden, from nowhere, I got this massive spray of water hit my back. So I was obviously partially naked at the time, and I was basically down in the depths of the boat, and I got saturated by this water. I'm thinking, where did that wave come from? But it just didn't feel like a wave. It was like a fine mist. And then I heard this massive sound of, it was like a great water spout. And I'm thinking, that can't be what I think it is. And I thought, sort of put everything down, put my tools down. And I looked at the boat and nothing. I thought, I was just imagined it. It must have been something or nothing. And then all of a sudden I heard this massive rumble underneath the boat. And the boat started to shake. And then all of a sudden this sperm whale appeared, literally a foot away from the boat. Looked up, could see the eye literally looking at me of the animal. And a massive spurt of water came out. And I'm thinking, bloody me, it's a whale. And it was just thinking, what? And it's just this massive sperm whale came from nowhere, and then just went past, and I'm thinking, right, where's my camera?
You didn't think, that's my life over now, you thought?
No, I thought, wow, well, got to get this on camera. Searching around for my phone, obviously I didn't know where my phone was because of the pandemonium on deck. My cameras had been smashed to smithereens. And I thought, right, oh, that was a wonderful moment. Nobody will believe me. And then, again, I didn't with the same whale, but another one, a whale came up again, thought it was the same one, came back up again. And I think they saw the boat really as a curious shape. If you look at the boat underneath the water, it does look whale-shaped, like a whale. And I think that the curiosity of the animal basically drew it to the boat. They did say when we're having briefings that whales will come and visit from time to time because of the curiosity of the shape. And sure enough, the second whale came up, thought it was the first one, massive spout of water before it actually surfaced, came over, had a look. I could see the eyes sort of looking at me curiously. And I'm just looking at this creature just going past. I'm thinking, well, that was one of the most surreal experiences I'll ever have. Carried on doing what I'm doing, and then got myself sorted, got the steering fixed. And then all of a sudden I saw them in the distance, the two of them. And then they started coming towards me. I'm thinking, oh, bugger. So I rang control. And I said, I think I'm going to get rammed by two whales here because I think they think I'm a whale. And they said, right, what should I do? And they said, get on the oars as quickly as you can and row for your life. That's exactly what they said to me.
That didn't help, did it?
No, I said, right.
Panic.
Yeah, they said, right, drop the phone, get on now and row as quickly as you can. I said, well, I can't row very quickly because I've lost my steering, but I'll do my best. So I got on the oars and started pulling away. And of course, these things can obviously get to gear like this. And they came across and then they just chaperoned me. They looked at me, chaperoned me for 2 days and 2 nights and stayed with me for 2 days and 2 nights. Oh my just gently looking at me. Of a night time, yeah, JC was with me. Yeah, he had a quiet word with them, didn't he? Because he talks to everybody, I guess. And I became like a Dr. Doolittle because I started speaking to them. So I called them Tom and Jerry because they were my favourite cartoon characters.
Just stayed with you?
Yeah, they stayed with me for 2 days and 2 nights. And then just disappeared. I thought, oh my gosh. And they were going in the same direction I was going west. So they're going with the currents that I was going in. And so I could get around about 3 or 4 knots when I was really sort of going in sort of good speed with the right currents. And it was just one of the most joyous moments I've ever shared in my life with anything or anybody. And it's a moment that I'll share forever. And also of a night time because I couldn't row all the time, I got exhausted. So I'd be on the oars for about 16 to 18 hours a day. And then I'd have to have a rest. I'd have to physically stop and eat and have a rest and sleep. And when I slept in the cabin during the time that they were with me, they came along and just nudged the cabin, nudged the boat to wake me up because they wanted me out on deck. Because beautiful starlit sky, the stars were like a carpet of stars hitting the ocean, shooting stars in abundance everywhere. And these two beautiful animals, with the moonlight, you could actually see them beautifully just sort of swimming away with me. And then 2 days later, they just disappeared from out of nowhere.
They knew you were okay?
That just gave me such an amazing boost from a morale point of view, and also from I was one with the world.
Well, it's a connection,
and it was
it's
just wonderful. It was just wonderful. And then from that moment, wildlife just became abundantly, it just came from everywhere. I had flying fish hit me everywhere every day, thousands of flying fish hitting the boat and me. Sea turtles, sharks, tuna, marlin, every type of marine creature. And then one particular evening, beautiful starlit evening, I rode into translucent plankton, which is like a carpet of green fluorescent light as you actually are putting your oars in. The fluorescence of the plankton just glows. It's just incredible. It's like rowing on a carpet of green fluorescent light. And I had that for a few nights as well. Just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable what the world can give.
I don't even know what to say anymore. just mez.
Yeah.
I don't even need these questions. Yeah. It's like normally when you have a conversation with someone, you can relate or bring something back, but it just the only thing that I can sort of relate this to is if it was to give anybody any motivation about how to maximize your life or enjoy your life, I don't think you're ever going to experience the extreme beauty or the extreme gifts unless you're willing to put yourself in that extreme hardship or the place that very few are willing to put themselves in.
That's so true, Nate. Honestly, what you have to think about is that you have to take a risk in life, and however risky you feel that is, just go for it, because you know what, you just might end up enjoying that experience.
Do you think anything is a risk.
I think life is risky,
Because
isn't it? You know,
if you're willing, as I've tried to analyze over the years, anything that ever has been a risk for me has ended up a lesson.
yes.
And surely we all believe that the only way you can ever achieve something is to learn by your lessons.
Good philosophy.
So then if you know that you're going to learn by your lessons, then you should continue to risk. But in effect, that is not a risk. You're just giving yourself a chance to learn.
Absolutely.
So in theory, nothing's a risk.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can lessen risk by understanding what you're getting yourself into, by going and learning before you get there. But, you know, in life as a whole, sometimes the unexpected does happen and you're thrown a curveball from somewhere and then you have to cope. And that's the learning opportunity that you get. But then the other things that you've learned along the way come into their own at that stage, you know, resilience and your mental strength and really sort of getting up and getting on with it and thinking, hang on a minute, you know, yeah, it's happened, but there's no point in thinking, worrying about it and thinking, well, you know, if I ponder on this, it's going to basically turn into mush. You've just got to give it your best shot. And you've been through many trials and tribulations in your business life and your sporting life, whereby you've had to go through that on a regular basis and call upon your resilience, call upon the knowledge that you've got and experience that you've had to get you to a better place, whatever that better place may be. And I think whether you're adventuring, whether you're in business, whether you're doing charitable work, whether you're just living your life on a day-to-day basis, you know, these are things that you can take on board and become a stronger person for it. Life is so difficult for everybody. There are so many challenges that everybody has to deal with day by day. And my God, it's difficult. But, you know, with having people like you in your life and Bernie Hollywood and other people around that you can call upon in the moments of need and give those people a steer and a nudge and give them a cross to actually give them inspiration and hope. Anything is possible. Anything is possible, you know, and that's the way I firmly believe. You know, hope is there for everybody. You just really need to have those people around you that can direct you in the right way. Sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen because that's life. Sometimes it goes down the toilet. But you know, the only way is up. And when you are down on your backside and you're thinking, there's no way I can go on in life as a whole, there are always people there to help and support you. Always. You just got to know where to find them.
But isn't everyone on their backside? So Bernie Hollywood, that was in the North Pole, ends up in a tumble dryer scenario in the Atlantic. You're fucking on your backside.
Oh, yeah,
you're really at the bottom. You're close to. What I don't think you mentioned there is you ended up having a fractured leg.
I did.
So we actually, with all of the story, we've missed the part that you had a fractured leg.
Yeah, I broke my leg. Yeah.
So I you know, and anyone that listened to this, it's funny how Bernie forgot to mention, oh, by the way, he'd fractured his leg whenever that pain.
Yeah.
But you managed through it. So the only way I can comprehend all of it is that we're all constantly at the bottom, because if you push yourself harder to achieve, you're still suffering. You're suffering, but you know you're on your way up.
Yeah.
So if you do nothing,
you're
suffering and you're not moving.
Yeah.
If you want to constantly move forward, you're still suffering. So suffering has to be the norm.
It does.
It can't be the thing that you lean away from.
No.
Suffering has to be the thing that you lean towards. And then whenever that becomes the norm, then you've got a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't get up. You can't have it comfortable.
No.
I remember when I met Evander Holyfield.
Wow. Okay.
And he, what everyone sort of thought that him and Mike Tyson hate each other, but they don't. They're best friends.
Yeah.
And like me, Evander Holyfield loves his mum. And he did say the difficult thing is whenever he became world champion that, you know, his mum looked after him so well, and then he was in his, you know, it's tough to get out of bed when you're in silk sheets. I think it's quite a famous quote that he repeated, and I always remember when he said that. It's so true, because all of a sudden you don't have to push against the difficulty so much.
True.
Like I often say that I am the laziest but yet most driven person. I hate getting up in the morning. I could and a typical, when I'm on holidays, I probably miss breakfast every day because I have no reason to get up.
Okay.
But I get up at early hours most days. But for me, that is more difficult to get out of bed than to do anything on the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But I'll still do it.
Yeah.
And then the norm is to suffer in the morning. Like my eyes don't open. Even my joints don't work for about 10 minutes. One thing that, it's not one thing, I could say that 100 times, but what you manage to do is do your extreme adventures, and then, which in itself is a gift for people, because if they meet you, it maybe gives them motivation or direction or wisdom to be able to go into themselves. But then you turn that into also then a charitable side, which then doubles up of gifting to people. And now you're the head of 3 global charities. Can you tell us how you managed to bring the understanding of challenges to overcome difficult situations into your charitable work?
Okay. I think the first, when I did my first marathon 40 plus years ago, I realized that this was a great vehicle to actually raise money for charity. And look at what the London Marathon's achieved, you know, ever since it launched. I think billions of pounds worth of value to charities all the way around the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth and around the world. So I quickly identified that if you challenge yourself and you push yourself to the extreme, people might give you a few bob. You know, because at that stage, lots of people weren't doing these extreme challenges. This is 40 plus years ago. So I thought I might be onto something here. And I had a love of running. When I started my first marathon, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to get good at this, because I was okay at school. I ran reasonably well at school, and I was a decent half footballer at school as well, got into the school team. And I thought, right, I've done this marathon. I want to do one properly. I thought, right, I'm going to train for it properly. I'm going to go out, get myself in shape, and then I'm going to approach a charity. I'm going to have a chat to them and see if I can actually do something for a charity. So I did that, and first proper marathon I did it for the Royal National Lifeboat Association Institution, and I ran the London Marathon. I got into the London Marathon because it was fairly easy then to get into London Marathon, and I raised a shed load of money for the RNLI because people were giving me money from everywhere, thinking, wow, this is pretty straightforward. All I've got to do now is just run 26 miles. And then I did that, and I did it in a decent time, and I thought, okay. And the RNLI were really, really very grateful for what I did. And I thought, I love this, I love doing this, right? I'm going to find a charity that really is close to my heart, that I can actually go out and do something really special for. And then I bumped into an amazing woman that introduced me to a guy called Nick Park. And Nick Park is the inventor of Wallace and Gromit. And I met with Nick, and I met with Marie, and I said, right, I'm thinking of actually running the London Marathon, and I'd love to do it for you, Nick, for your charity that he just formed called Wallace and Gromit Children's Foundation. Beautiful, simple message. He wanted to help sick children in hospital with non-NHS equipment. Lovely, straightforward story. Wanted to buy incubators, wanted to buy sensory rooms. Beautiful story. And I said, right, do you know what we should do, Nick? I should run as Wallace with the wrong trousers in the London Marathon, and we'll really raise a bucket load of money for your charity if we do that. Will you create a Wallace costume for me that you've created in plasticine for the grand day out for me to do that for your charity?
You better hope for a cold day.
Yeah. And it was the opposite of that. There's a story to it as well. So he said, yes, Bernie, we'll do that. Let's do it. I love what you're doing. there's only one thing, that you have to come along and help us with our charity, because we knew at that stage what I was doing from a charitable giving point of view. Will you help us get our charity off the ground, and can you help us with our work? And I said I'd be delighted to do that. So I became an official ambassador for Wallace and Gromit Children's Foundation at that stage 40 plus years ago. And I ran the London Marathon dressed as Wallace. I had a latex hat on. I had the big hands and massive long trousers on and massive boots and the string vest. And it was one of the hottest marathons that it ever been. And I'm sweating buckets in this mask and I couldn't take it off. And everybody's shouting, Wallace, where's Gromit? Where's Gromit? What have you done with Gromit? Have you shot him? And I ran the marathon. And I remember crossing the line, virtually passed out with the perspiration, the sweat and the effort. But I did a decent time across the line, raised thousands of pounds for the charity. And then it just grew from there. So
is this one of the world records that you have? Or
no, not at that stage.
Because you
no.
probably missed that bit along with a broken leg. I'll have to remind you of all these things along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. But long story short, we thought, well, we have to do it with Gromit the next time we did. So I persuaded my friend David to actually be Gromit for the day. But we thought, wouldn't it be great to actually do it in a transit van, a Ford Transit van? So I have Wallace and Gromit in the transit van, drive in the transit van around the track, around the 26 miles, with this inside this inflatable Ford Transit. So we got Ford on board, and we went to Ford UK and said, listen, we're looking at bringing a Ford Transit van around, Wallace and Gromit inside. They did a great publicity for you. They gave us a shed load of money to do it. Thought it was an amazing idea, never been done before. So we got this amazing inflatable Ford Transit made with the two of us inside dressed up as Wallace and Gromit, running like sort of, the Hanna-Barbera characters like Fred Flintstone, running along with, and it looked like we were actually driving this vehicle, and got special permission for the marathon to do it. Sadly, we got to the halfway stage over London Bridge, Tower Bridge, and Gromit passed out. And so David passed out. He basically fainted, and we had to call the paramedics. And he got taken to hospital because he'd actually got dehydrated. And everybody was saying, what have you done to Gromit? You've killed him. So he's lying on the floor by this transit van. I'm there dressed as Wallace. Take my mask off. Kids are screaming because they see the Wallace mask come off. David gets taken into hospital, and I said, well, I can't go on because David's in hospital. And the message came back, David wants you to carry on. He's in hospital, he's okay. He's just severely dehydrated. So about half an hour after he'd been put in the hospital, I'm still in Tower Bridge with the transit van, all dressed up, nowhere to go. And then Marie comes up from Wallace and Gromit and says, please, will you go on and complete the race? Because obviously we've got lots of money riding on this. So I couldn't carry the transit van because it was too heavy. So the transit van had to remain inflated on the bridge, while I then finished the second half of the marathon and finished the marathon. We raised a shed load of money for the charity with obviously our great sponsors, Ford at the time. And that was just a very, very memorable day. And so we thought, if we do things slightly different than the norm, this is a great way of actually raising heaps and heaps of money. And that's really where it snowballed from there. So,
but so you've raised heaps of money, but you haven't just stopped there then. You decided to give heaps and heaps of your money away as well?
Yeah, I've given over £1 million of my own wealth away over that period of time. And I blame my mum for that, because my mum went, because my mum gave everything away. Irish Catholic families have an amazing DNA of giving. I've met so many Irish Catholic families, they just give everything away. Come in, have a cup of tea, and you're there for life, and all the sandwiches and cake come out, and everybody wants to help you. It's just based within that beautiful Catholic DNA that comes from Ireland in particular. It's just beautiful sense of it. And my family had it in heaps and spade loads. And Mum used to be the greatest giver with my dad of everything. She had nothing, but she gave it all away. Time, money, whiskey to the priests, all the best stuff that you could ever think. Our house was like a station of people coming and going. I didn't know who was in our house half the time. And when Mum was passing, she loved Mother Teresa. She worshipped that woman. about what she was and what she did for the poor. And she said to me when she was passing, she said, nobody ever became poor by giving. You know, you actually get rich by doing that. The more you give away, the richer you will become. And I didn't get it at the time. She said that when she was passing. And and she said, listen, if you do that, I promise you, as I'm going to see Paddy, that was my dad, passed 6 months beforehand. As I'm going to see Paddy and I honestly will tell you that if you do that, you'll have a very, very happy life. I said, Mum, I'll do it for you, I promise you. And from that day, I've given everything away. And the philosophy was that you only need one of everything. You don't need two of everything from a materialistic point of view. And I've lived that life. And when I started in my financial career, when I went into finance, I quickly found that finance was a very greedy place to be. Everybody just wanted to get richer and richer and richer. But I thought, well, let's flip that on the head, because I know these people do care about helping society as a whole. So I suggested the idea of basically giving some of your salary away at the end of the month, but giving it to charity and having a tax break. So that was salary sacrifice. So I came up with the idea of salary sacrifice over 35 years ago, where I approached my company and said, listen, if all of our employees gave £1 away every month, and you basically matched that with match funding, we could really make a big difference. There was over 60,000 employees in the organisation at that stage. So that was 60 grand a month, and nobody'd miss a quid. And if you agreed to give £1, what an amazing story you could go out and tell the customers of what our staff are doing. And they thought, well, to heck with it. Why don't we just give £2? We'll add £2 onto everybody's salary. If they want to give £2, they can elect to give it, and we'll get a tax break from the government to do it as well. And that's how salary sacrifice started. And that today still raises millions of pounds every month.
But you've took it to another level.
I did, yeah.
You've took it to, you'll nearly sacrifice, you sacrificed all your salary then,
Yeah, yeah, most of it. I gave most of my salary away unless I had to live on something. So I decided in my own mind that I had to look after my children and my family, but everything else I just donated. Yeah. So I've donated about £1 million since then. And my partner thinks I'm crazy. She said, why do you give all your money away? I said, because I get great satisfaction about what comes back the other way. So, and I continue to do that to this very day.
It's over the time that I've got to know you.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense now that I've got to know you.
Yeah.
But there has to be something underlying that you're happy. You don't want material things in your life.
No,
so that's the first level, because you have to not want the material or the basics.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you have a material drive, no matter how much sense that would make, then well, it'd be really, really difficult.
It's true. I mean, I always say to people, because I mentor people from all around the world, and they always ask me that question, and I said, listen, you know, in the world that we are, you have to be selfish to yourself. You have to be completely selfish as an individual if you want to give to people. And you have to be selfish in life if you're going to look after your family. Because if you think about it logically, if you're not fit and well as an individual, you can't help others be successful or help them in their direction, in the path, their way to go. So if you sacrifice not eating the right foods, not having a decent home with warmth and all of the material needs that you need to survive, how can you help other people? And there's a great little thing that when you get onto an aircraft and you go through the safety briefing, they always say when the mask comes down, you put the mask on first and then you put the mask on the child afterwards. And that's a great analogy of life as a whole. Be selfish, look after yourself, because you cannot look after others if you are not in a great shape to do so. And I've always lived by that.
Yeah, so you're like selfish, but you don't want to wear a Rolex.
No. A watch tells time.
A lot of people,
you know?
and I guess this is, how do you translate this? Because we definitely are in a world where we it's very, very difficult to judge, but you must have something that your bank balance doesn't calculate what you have. You have to calculate it here. You have to feel that you have enough. And from, like, I understand it, but definitely my altruistic side is nowhere near. The pendulum hasn't swung as far.
Yeah.
But I do actually, getting to know you, getting to know what you're about, getting to know, I guess, your connections.
Yeah.
People that will invite you to dinner, people that will invite you somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you actually have unleashed so much freedom by default, by giving. And to what exactly your mum has said.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also not the giving of material things as well, Sean, to be frank. I mean, the greatest gift that any person in the world can give to anybody else is what we're doing now, is time. This is you're given 365 days a year. Everybody's given the same amount of time. We're all equitable in life. No, there's no shortage on it. But it's what you do with that time that really, really matters. Because people ask me, well, how do you fit in so much in the length of time that you have throughout the day? And it's a simple answer to that. You surround yourself with incredible people that can actually make you look amazingly well, but also make you great at the things that you're bad at doing. And I'm really good at that. I'm rubbish at lots of things, believe me. So what I try and do is get the right people to come and work for me and basically do the great things within the organisations that we need to do to make the organisations greater and do better social good. And that's what I'm good at doing. I'm good at finding the right people with the right skill sets to make incredible things happen within the social context of our charitable organisations that we operate. And I do that for people as well. There's no secret to it. It really is quite simple.
Is there any particular challenges that charities or social enterprises face that are common through common thread?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been in the third sector, the charitable sector now for 40 years, and I've never seen a situation whereby charities are now struggling financially. And it's like a perfect storm of what's actually happened over the last 3 to 4 years. What we've seen now is that charitable giving is really, really difficult because we are in a situation with the general public whereby money is hard to come by because, we are struggling financially. Families are struggling to actually put bread on the table for all reasons that we know. So the first thing that's given is charitable giving goes out the window naturally when you can't afford to make that donation. You have to look after yourself first and foremost. So charities now are struggling financially like ever before. There is a huge amount of charitable giving. There's over £6 billion worth of charitable funding in the country every year from grants within the United Kingdom from charitable organisations. 6 billion. Sounds like a great deal of money, but in the scheme of it, it's nothing, to be fair, when you spread that amongst the charities that you actually have to give it to. And there are so many more charities now chasing after that particular pot. So when you're coming to actually get those grants and get that money, you've got so many charities chasing after the same pot that a number of the charities don't actually win out and sadly go bust. And a lot of charitable organisations sadly don't know how to run the charities as a business. And this is what I educate charities on. Charities come to me on a regular basis and say, I've got financial difficulties, our funding is drying up, we don't really know where to go. Can you actually write us a sustainable business plan with regards to the funding strategy to get it onto the right footing? And that's what I do. I go into charities and basically I'm like the resuscitation of actually putting a plan together to make sure that we can get them from life support into intensive care and then into recovery. And I do that quite successfully.
That's probably where I've always not understood what the narrative of charity is, because I've always understood, or how the message of a charity is that we're here to give, we're here to give. Where if the message would change, as we've discussed before, we're a business.
Yes.
We need to survive.
Correct.
And when we have a foundation of survival, we are going to give all our surplus. Where I have been kind of not pro-charity in the past, because I feel that the narrative is that we're all doing this for little or no money, voluntary, to take your money and give it away. But really behind the scenes is, I don't think the story has been fair to say, and then the public has said, well, hold on a minute, you're getting your wages. Where if it was declared that all of these wages need paid, this is a really good message, this is a really good foundation, and guess what, 20% of our money is surplus. It would be more honest. And the message then would be like, oh, they're doing great work.
Sean, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that's called social enterprise, okay? And lots of charities do turn themselves into social enterprises. And Merseyside and Liverpool as a whole is full of social enterprise. It's an incredible hotbed of what that story is. And when I go into a charity, the first thing I say to them is, you're not a charity. You are a business. You are delivering a service with a need. You have to charge for that particular need, that need that you're supplying into the actual into the community, and you have to pay money. You can't do it. You can't basically run a charity and not pay anybody. You need the right people around.
It's like a story. We talked about storytelling. It's if you can tell a story that people warm to, they're not going to question the money, because they're going to get that good feeling. And you bought me a book.
I did.
About storytelling.
I did.
And it's something that we both believe and
fervently.
We've used storytelling to connect so many of the things that we do in life, and we know how important it is.
Yeah, we do. I mean, the storytelling is so compelling. I mean, we know from our childhoods when, you know, mommy, daddy at your bedside and read you that story for the first time, and you get immersed into that story like never before. You're there, you're living it. And that's how business people sell stuff. They sell the story, and then effectively the product becomes after that. And that can be from running shoes, it can be for building buildings, it can be selling stuff. I mean, Innocent Smoothies, for example, started out as a social enterprise. They wanted to save the world through selling smoothies. It's now owned by Coca-Cola, but originally the guys that started that company wanted to save the world through organic smoothies. And you may remember a little campaign that they did, is that every single smoothie that they sold, they put a little bobble hat on it. Do you ever remember that? Google it.
I'm too young.
Yeah, you are. Well, every smoothie that they sold, they put a little knitted bobble hat on the smoothie. And effectively, a percentage of the smoothie went to the homeless people, to actually support the homeless. It was an amazing campaign that raised millions of pounds. So people bought Innocent Smoothies because they knew they were helping the homeless through this incredible campaign. And they basically were a social enterprise whereby it became profitable, and exactly what you said, Sean, a percentage of their particular profit went into a social funding pot, which then basically went into other charities to support them with regards to the work that they did. And now they called it social response, so corporate social responsibility at the time. It's now morphed into ESG, economic social governance, which is now taken over. And every business is jumping on the ESG bandwagon because they actually understand that if they can demonstrate to their customer that they're actually here for social goodness, they may buy some more of our stuff. Very easy equation, really. And that's what really great social enterprises do. So we have a social enterprise in Kenya that runs running shoes, that runs exactly on the same format, same template as Innocent Smoothies. You buy a pair of shoes from us, you choose, go to our website, and you can choose where you want the 2% of your shoe price to go to for social good.
Can you tell us the website, and we put it on the links?
Yeah, I can send you the details of that. But lots of businesses are doing the same thing. And we've ended up employing 150 people that never had a job before, and gave them skills of actually making training shoes in a developing country in Africa. And now those shoes are basically being sold all over the world with an idea that two people came together with to say that Kenyans are the best running long distance runners in the world, but you can't buy a Kenya running shoe. Let's do it. And that's what they did. And I was a part of that journey with the funding of that business.
I think you were the very start of that journey.
Very start of it, yes, indeed. So, and that, well, I've got a pair on today as well. So, yeah, here we go.
Come on, get your foot up.
There they are. There we go. So that's a Kenyan running shoe.
The sales are going to rocket now.
Yeah, honestly, they are absolutely.
If you buy a pair of them, you're going to be able to run a marathon in a week.
So yeah, you're absolutely right with regards to the way that you think and feel that charity, you know, I can understand the backlash of people thinking, well, why isn't the government doing all of this stuff? Because really, it's the government's responsibility to look after people that live in poverty, people that are struggling, you know, research into Alzheimer's, research into cancer, research into heart disease. And you've got these massive, beautiful charities doing that now. And there are different governments around the world that tax differently to ensure that, you know, well, you don't really need to give to charity because the government does that. The Nordic countries in particular are very good at that, where you pay a substantial more tax, but they cover all of those particular needs that charities do. I mean, the charitable sector within the United Kingdom is incredible. I mean, it contributes 0.8% to GDP every single year. 0.8% of GDP is actually through the charitable services within the United Kingdom. And they employ hundreds of thousands of people at the same time. So charity is very...
I'm going to have to run the data on how much of that you've helped with.
No, honestly, it's a fact. These are absolute candid facts.
No, look, and the people I've met connected to you and what you've done, it just makes you happy. It brings a smile to your face to see that there's people out there that are just giving so much, but in return, I'm sure they're getting, well, their soul is happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They must wake up in the morning with a smile on their face. I'm even smiling now. Think of the amazing stories and the amazing people I've met through you.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the storytelling, because you spoke at the UN.
I did, yeah.
You've been on TED Talks.
I have.
Do you just get up someday and realize that you're comfortable standing in front of hundreds or thousands of people, or is this something again that's evolved through time?
Yeah, great question. I think storytelling is an art form, and it's a skill, and it's something that you learn with time. And I started my storytelling 40 years ago, very small with regards to the narrative of what I had to say then, and it's built multiple layers across and across and across. And somebody once said to me, and it was a great piece of advice, that if you can get invited to go and talk somewhere, regardless of whether you think it's worth your while or not, make sure you clear your diary to do it and go and do it. Because storytelling is like exercising a muscle. The more you exercise your muscle, the stronger it becomes. And it's exactly the same as storytelling. When you're storytelling, you finesse your story as you go along. And it's like some of the great comedians within the world, because they are the greatest storytellers. The greatest comedians in the world are amazing storytellers. When you go to see them, they tell these stories beautifully, and you engage with it because you relate to the story. And that's exactly what you do with your story, Sean, and my story. You know, you have so many incredible things that have happened in your life that you can bring to life in such a colourful way that I get absorbed into the story and thinking, I'm living the story that Sean's in, and I can visualise it, and I can see where Sean is coming from. And that's where great storytelling comes from. It comes from those lived-in experiences that people can relate to. There aren't those far-fetched stories, that actually it's just ordinary people doing quite extraordinary things that maybe I can do that as well. And
authenticity. Being authentic is something that has been mentioned so many times within our group of people. And it's easy to tell a story when you're not making the story up.
That's so true. That's
so
true.
That is exactly when speaking to you or speaking to people like you. whether the word story or whether it's about your life or your experiences, whether it is comedy and you're able to put a swing on it like that, or whether it is it comes across as happy, sad. It just becomes when you are genuine and you think that what you're talking about has importance to you and the people around, or there's a possible message to be sent on. It just, well, you could just talk for hours then, couldn't you? Because it is something that you're proud of, something that you believe people can learn from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have a saying that wisdom is the currency of success. And I live by that mantra, there is so much great stuff in people that you can actually give, very much like what you're doing in your life now, Sean, with regards to the massive amounts of wisdom that you have in business. You've launched your first book, and now you're looking at a series of books coming along, but you're unleashing that wisdom on people. You're not keeping it to yourself. That's your gift to other people. And that's an amazing gift to give away, because an awful lot of people would say, well, hang on, why are you doing that, Sean? And you're doing it because you really want to help other people be successful with whatever success means to them. And you talk about that beautifully in your book as well. And that's really what my narrative is about. We're only here for a very, very short period of time. I'm coming into the twilight of my life now. And I'm really in a really desperate rush to give my wisdom away to as many people as I possibly can that want to know about it.
I've got all evening.
Well, we're off to Ireland shortly, so we can do that again over a pint of Guinness. So,
do you know if there was like if you were to try and narrow it down to what would be the right way to say it? So many people out there struggling and thinking, oh, it's okay for Bernie or it's okay for Sean. No matter if they listen to this and they understand, even no matter how we are to say that it's always going to be difficult, just be okay with the difficult. If there was like a certain message that you would, or how you would like your legacy to be, are you able to narrow it down to a few points that you'd say, undoubtedly for the masses, this is what you need to understand about being happy, being successful, whatever success looks like to that person?
Yeah, I get another great question. I think, from a legacy point of view, I've given this a bit of thought because, how do you want to be remembered by, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't really want to be remembered, to be honest with you. I just want people to actually understand that regardless of your background or where you come from, you can be successful, whatever success means to you. And success is not about, it could be if you want to have material wealth. Success is being fulfilled. I don't call it about being, I don't like the word happy. I like fulfillment. And fulfillment is, and my mum told me this, it's going to bed at night and sleeping soundly, knowing that you've done the best you possibly can in that day for other people.
And that in itself is difficult.
And that's it.
That's hugely difficult to do your best.
It is.
So surely the temptations to not do your best on a day is...
And usually that happens, not to do your best, because life is so busy throwing you stuff all over the place, and you're trying to put food on the table. And your son's suffering with a mental health issue, or your daughter's suffering with a mental health issue, and you don't know where to turn, and you don't know where to help, and you think your life is imploding, and life is really, it's a shit show. But there's always a lifeline out there for you. There's always that safety raft. You're not alone. And that's what I'd say in my legacy, that it's all about reaching out and speaking to other people. Never ever believe that you're on your own, even in the depth, in the worst situation you can get to. And I know many of my friends that have been very desperate with regards to taking their own particular lives for all the reasons it's happened to them. But they've gone that one step further and made that phone call and reached out to that individual to listen to how they feel and where they are, and try and help them to get back to where they should be. And that's so difficult. But there are amazing groups of organisations. We live in a city here that is so caring and giving and loving, it's unbelievable. regardless of where you are, if you're on your arse and you're actually on the streets and you're looking for your next cup of water or or next sandwich to eat, and you're sitting on the streets every night, believe it or not, there are organisations and people out there that care for you. There's amazing organisations, the Paper Cup and all sorts of, in the Whitechapel Centre, and we're blessed with people to help. So the one thing is that please do never, always understand that you're never, ever, ever on your own. Regardless of how far you go down, you can always reach out to somebody for help. And I'm one of those people. Wherever I go, whenever I speak, I say to people, I've just spoken at Liverpool Hope University last week to an amazing group of individuals, and I did a lecture, and they're all sitting there. They're all the young, aspirational people of the future going into the world with degrees and so on and so forth, and wanting to do social good as well. And I've said to them, listen, advice costs nothing. It's up to you now to make the first step. I'm here, standing in front of you. If you want to actually give and be direction and point it in the right direction, want some wisdom, I'm here to give that for you for nothing, because it costs nothing to do that. Just a 5-minute conversation or a 10-minute conversation. And I got inundated at the end where the kids were coming down and talking to me and saying, I need you, can you help me? Can you give me a point? And it's so simple to do an email or a phone call and have a coffee and point these young people in the direction they want to go, which I've already done for most of them. But that gives me great satisfaction. It gives me fulfillment that I've passed a little bit on to them.
Isn't it funny how it flips? Because for years, as I was trying to gain we're always trying to get wiser and better. I always didn't want to bother somebody who I looked up to.
Yes.
But when I got a chance to speak with them, I would say, I didn't want to bother you. And they would always say, I'm here because respect, it's mutual respect.
It is.
It's not the person that is on their journey just ahead of you feels like they're ever any better than you.
Correct.
And when somebody is successful and all round a decent person, they always want to help the person that's on the journey with them.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I continue to tell anyone that I know or within my circle, or especially if I know their first name even, I said, you're never bothering me. Reach out to me. And almost every time I get the same answer by so many people, I didn't want to bother you. And I still feel like that way when it comes to some of my elders and the people that, and I think it's a natural thing to think.
It is.
Somebody is so busy, I don't want to bother you.
You're absolutely
But
right.
the people that I respect and the people who respect me, we've always had a time for each other. And maybe that's the answer. If you think that you are bothering someone, or they let you know that you're bothering them, maybe they're not the one that you should look up to.
And you're right. And you know what? It's funny you should say that, because I always remember trying to reach out to people that I aspire to. And there was one particular situation whereby I went to see this great person. Really, really was. He was major CEO of a major company that I thought, wow, one day I'd like to basically sort of do what he's doing. And I got the opportunity to go and talk to him about and ask. Because you usually got an ask when you go to see somebody. And I wanted some serious amount of funding for a particular project. And I remember going to see him, very, very gracious man. And he gave me 15 minutes of his time. So you've got 15 minutes, clock's on. Right, okay, what do you want? And went in, talked about really what I was looking to achieve, what I wanted to do. I think your company is the right fit for basically the funding that I need, etc., etc. And got to the end of the conversation and said, right, well, where do you go from here? So, well, the answer is no. So, my face dropped because I thought, well, got the meeting, engaging, really loved what I was saying about it, give me all the right vibes. He said, not interested. No, sorry. And I thought, oh, and it's rejection. You feel really sort of, well, what have I done wrong? There must be something. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, right, okay. So I quickly thought, well, hang on a minute. He must know somebody that I can actually go and talk to with what I've got that will resonate with them in his black book, because this guy knew everybody. So I thought on my feet, and I said, right, okay. Right, I know you've said no, and I understand, and thank you so much for giving me 15 minutes of your most valuable time, running this multi-billion-pound organisation that you were doing. Really, it's fantastic to be in your company and so on and so forth. I understand the reasons why you've said no. I said, but is there one person in your world that could actually get me and understand my ask, that you feel that they would actually think about considering giving me the funding I need to get to where I need to be? And he sat there and he looked at me, he said, that's emotional blackmail, isn't it? And I said, yeah. I said, don't you feel bad about saying no to me? He said, I really do. He said, hang on a minute, I'll just get my PA in. So he got the PA in, he said, I think I know a couple of people that we can put Bernie in touch with. Right, can you just dig them out, my diary? I think this person and this person. And I said, well, hang on a minute, that's great, but what I'd like you to do is drop them a line now. Whilst we're in the moment, because I know how busy you are.
Seize the day.
Yep. Can you just drop them a line? And also, while you're there, can you copy me in? So I know that you've done, not to say that I don't disbelieve you, but then I know I've got that connection when I speak to them. And he did it. And one of those particular people did become a funder, because this person said, you really need to speak to Bernie, because he just wrote, he said, just have Bernie in 15 minutes. Doesn't fit within what we're doing with our corporate strategy. However, looking at the way that you're looking at things at the moment, this may resonate with what you're doing, and it really is worth 15 minutes. And the second meeting, we got the funding.
And that's a lesson that thankfully I picked up quite early. And if some of my team were listening now, if I have an ask or a want, I'll either stay on the phone and say, draft the email now,
Love it,
copy me in, and send it, or send a reminder of what we've discussed. And because when you let it slip, we all have busy lives.
Absolutely.
And you have to action something that's important now, or start the action that can't be forgot about.
Absolutely.
Because people don't like to go back on their word. No. If someone has promised you something, or they will do it, once you've started it, it gives you breathing space.
It does.
To find.
It does. It does.
Is there anything? Well, there's a million things that we could go on to discuss, and I'd love to have you back again soon.
Love to come back. Love to come back.
I'm aware that the more you talk, the more so many people can benefit from listening to you. But is there anything you'd like to finish on? You do think there's a little bit of words of wisdom for somebody out there that maybe needs to start now, whatever they need to start? Is there any thing you could say to them that would just get them to take that first step?
Well, reach out to me would be a good start.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I never say no to anybody, and there's always something I can actually help somebody with. And if I can't help them, I'll know an organisation or an individual that may be willing to actually listen to them. I'd say to anybody that anything is feasibly possible, but you have to surround yourself with good people to do that. You know, life is a journey that you go on, but you've got to have you've got to have your own village around you to be successful. Like in your business world, you have an amazing group of people that make you look brilliant and make the business successful day in and day out. And that's the same in family life as well. If you've got a great mum and dad and aunties and uncles and cousins and nieces and nephews, and you come together, it's amazing what you can do as a family. And it's the same when you're lonely. When you're lonely out there, and boy oh boy is it a lonely world, you're not on your own, although you think you are. You know, reach out to people. It's only a matter of basically in a couple of seconds or time to listen and give that to somebody. And I'm always there for anybody that wants to actually have that conversation. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
It's
today.
a great pleasure, Sean.
We've spent so many hours talking, and every time I speak to you, it blows my mind to the things that we haven't discussed in the time before. And I think that every time we speak, it just feels like I'm scratching the surface. But
well,
it's for for the short period of time I've got to know you, it's been a pleasure.
Oh, thanks, Sean.
And
likewise.
the
I'll say ditto to that.
the thousands, if not tens of thousands, or many people that you've touched, I'm definitely one of them, and I'm delighted to got to know you and call you a friend.
Thanks, Sean. Likewise. Thanks, my man. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.